All right, so housing another soul. That is the title of this first story, this first episode that I'm sharing with y'all. And it definitely was something that I did not expect and would never, ever have thought. Because what I always thought was that you always have to give consent for anything to be in your body or energetic field. Like when people channel and stuff like that, you have to give consent. And there was no consent ever given. I had found out during the session that this was with me since I was like a baby. So yeah, so before I just like dive into it, let's start from the beginning, shall we? All right, so earlier this year, I think towards the end of February, I had went to see an amazing shamanic healer that my friend recommended to me. And when I went there, well, it was actually over Zoom. When I went to see her, I actually had it in my mind that other people's energy was really just like really on me. And my friend had mentioned to me that I should get something called the Bands of Power. Now, quickly, the Bands of Power is a shamanic type of technique, I believe, and it's supposed to keep others' energy out. That's about as much as I know of it, so I'm not an expert in that area, so definitely look that up. But that's what I went to the shamanic healer for. And I had, in my mind, that's what I thought I needed. But when I got to my session, she sat for a minute and we talked, and she told me that I didn't really need that she didn't think that that's what was really going on with me. And to be honest with y'all, I kind of felt it too when she had said it to me. And I was like, maybe it's not it. So, I'm open to diving into seeing what's actually going on with me. And as we sat there, she guided me really through the entire healing. It was like I was doing it myself, but she was there to guide me and to help me if I got stuck somewhere. And it was really it's still uncomfortable to talk about at times, but it was really interesting how she told me just to ask, like, where do I see this energy in my body? Because I would feel like this really uncomfortable pain. And like this was even happening before I went to her. I mean, before it got to the point where I had to see her. I'd have like these pains in my left shoulder area, and like I'd have intense like emotions, like I felt like I needed to cry or things like that. And during the session, she asked me what it felt like or where it was, and it ended up forming itself into a ball. And she had told me to ask, excuse me, she told me to ask it like, is it your energy? So I was like, okay, is this my energy? And I felt no. That was really unsettling and really uncomfortable. I was like, okay. I told her, I was like, no, this is not my energy. She was like, all right, it's okay. So just, whose energy is it? Like, so whose energy is this? And I didn't get an answer straight away, and then asked like, what was it here for? Something to that nature. It wasn't exactly that question. It was some other question. And what came out of it was childhood. And I had to sit with myself and dive deeper into it to kind of feel around. And it was, in fact, like a child soul. And it didn't get to have a childhood. And it's like, however, its life. I don't even think it had, I mean, well, obviously it had to have had a life at some point, but it just didn't get to have a childhood. And I was like, well, it's saying it didn't get to have a childhood or something like that. And she kind of read, I guess, I don't know how she did it, but she was connected to me and was telling me, she was like, okay, so it looks like it was with you to have a childhood. And now that it's had one, it's time for it to go. And the odd thing was that it felt like it was time for it to go, but at the same time it didn't want to leave. And I told her that. I was like, I feel it's uncomfortable because it's like it don't want to go. It doesn't want to go. Sorry. It doesn't want to go. And that made me feel really uncomfortable. And she was like, it's okay. She was like, I'm going to take you through the process to guide it to the light. And she was like, well, ask it like why. And I was like, well, don't you want to go? Like, what's going on? And I felt like an energy at my heart space, and it was that I was really kind and very nice and loving, and that's why I wanted to stay. Every time I think about that part, it makes me really emotional because I have no idea why. It's just, it makes me really emotional when I get to that part, because it's, I guess it's like, that's like my true self. And at the end of the session, uh, the woman did tell me too. She was like, this is like, that's actually who you are. You are a good person. And she was like, that's something nice to know. And she was like, like, keep that in my mind, but like, I have to retrain my body and everything to know that I'm safe and nothing's there. So let me not get too far ahead. But when it did, jumping back to the story, when it did say that, it made me cry. It made me emotional, and I like held the tears back, because part of me was sad for that. Another part was still unsure about how to feel about the entire situation, because again, you guys, this is like a whole soul was like hiding out in my body. And I had no idea that it was there. And I've actually had so many sessions on myself from other people. I guess it just wasn't time for it to come out or be revealed. I won't even say that. I feel like what I'm feeling now is that all the stuff that was piled on top of that issue, all of the other self-love and the pain and things that I went through when I was younger, all those things that I had to clear out, there was probably so much stuff piled on top of that at this age, now I'm 34, so that's been with me for a while. When it's finally time for it to go, it's like I've made enough room for me to actually see what else was like really going on in my body and being. That actually feels really true for me. So yeah, after I had that moment, she helped me guide it to the light to leave so it can live its own life. And I started seeing little things like a tombstone or like a cemetery. And I don't know whose child it was. I don't know, but I did feel like, I think it wanted to, eh, I'm not too sure. I'm not 100% sure about that. So I won't say that, but again, I didn't know those little images, like, I don't know whose child it was or anything, but it was a boy, I believe. And, or who knows, it might have been a girl, I don't know, but it's just the essence, that soul. After we did that, I told her how I felt. She helped guide me back to filling myself up with love and to bring me back into my body and everything. And we had a really beautiful conversation afterward about helping me to know that, like, when I start to feel things in my body again, like, I need to reaffirm, like, this is just me in my body now. It's only me. I don't have anything to fear, because fear is like that. Fear attracts more fearful things. You guys know, especially if you've been on your spiritual journey for a while. When you have fearful thoughts or you fear things, you just attract more fear. And I personally believe, and it's probably been said too, like, when you're in fear, you leave yourself open to things. When you're in fear, because you're not mindful, you're not in your body, you're not in your power. So I didn't want to be left open to anything else. So I just was like, I have to really be strong in my resolve to know that I'm safe, I am powerful, and I actually have a voice now, so I can give consent to whatever it is that I am doing, and I will never give consent to anything being in my body. Y'all, that's insane. So we had a really healing conversation afterward. And she told me, she was like, yep, you're all right. And she was like, you just got to keep moving forward and remembering that you're safe. You have to reprogram your mind and reprogram yourself, and that you are all right. And I actually did a really good job. She was like, you did a really good job. And this lady's really wonderful. And she's like, I want to say she's like a mom, a really loving mom or aunt that just is ever wise, and just, those are the type of women that I'm really grateful that people refer me to. It's really just two of them that I have that are my spiritual teachers, her and my actual spiritual teacher. But this woman, I've met her once before, I think. And they just have this loving energy, and that's the type of person that you want to find to help you with healing yourself, for sure. So yeah, after the session was over with and I logged out of the Zoom call, I sat with myself for a minute, and that's when all the emotions came up. I was feeling, and I've never felt this before. Like how in the movies where they were like angry and sad and all. I've never experienced that before, but that day I was angry, sad. I felt bad. It just, and it all came up, and then I just cried, and I didn't even know what it was for, but all those emotions came up. Thinking about how a large chunk of my life, it's like I had to heal a lot of stuff, and I was healing things that weren't even mine. Healing somebody else's, probably that thing's past lives and all that stuff, and me thinking everything was mine and stuff, and it's not, it wasn't. And that made me upset. And then it's just thinking about how, like, my own experiences as a girl and how I struggled with my own self, and then just it was just a mesh of everything. And then thinking about again how it said I was just like really nice, and I guess a part of me was just really sad about that because of the experiences I've had in life, especially with romantic relationships and people where people weren't nice in return. And it just makes me emotional. It really does. But just thinking of how I would second guess myself and wonder if I'm a good person. And like knowing now, like I know myself, and like she had told me, the shamanic healer had told me, she was like, this actually knows you. So that's coming from something that kind of knows you a little bit. And thinking about that, like I took comfort in myself and who I am and knowing who I am. But also, it's like it was not a wake-up call, but it just helped me to reinforce that I need to really collect all of myself. I really need to be in control of all of who I am. And I need to be able to tell myself, even if I didn't hear it enough growing up or hear from other people, that I am who I am and who I say I am. And that whole experience just solidified all the work that I've been doing on myself, how I want to help other women in the world. It just helped to really solidify that. And yeah, it did. It brought a lot of things to my attention. Even after the next day after that, also, I had went to take a walk, and I had to just like really keep tapping in with myself, like, nope, this is all me. I am here. It's like everything felt different. My body felt different. It was like my body was acclimating to me. That's what I'm going to say it was doing, because I did still feel some like purging afterward. It felt like I was going to pass out and all this type of stuff. It was really weird. And I had to like have that purge go on. And then it's just like my body was settling back down to myself. So yeah, I've never experienced anything like that before. I will not ever again. We're going to say that, put that out there. It's just like all these years I've been in control of myself, but still, like, just again, like I said, just thinking about the times where I would be battling in my mind, like, are these my thoughts? These are mine. There were so many weird, uncomfortable things. And I was still new in my spiritual journey way back when I first started. So, as I kept healing myself, I got more wiser, and like, it was just that time. It was just time for it to be removed and released. And I can say that I'm grateful for myself for not giving up on myself and for keep moving forward with my healing, because there were times when things I was going through were really difficult. So yeah, that was the story. And what I want you to, well, take whatever you take from the story. If you think, if you want to go to a shamanic healer or just to an energetic healer, now that I'm aware, I think I probably can pick up different things also within other people. So when I have sessions with my own clients, I'll definitely like do a deeper dive. That's something that came up too, that I thought of, like being able to pinpoint things if something's not right, and make sure to guide you to the healer that would best serve to be able to remove things, because I've never done that for anyone. So there's that. So take what you want from the story, but also want to share like what you can do for yourself. And that's the biggest thing, is to keep healing yourself. You never know what's going on with your body and with along your healing journey, but keep healing yourself. If you are an energetic healer listening to this, it is very important that you take at least 10 minutes a day to do an energetic clearing and healing on yourself, because stuff like this, yeah. And also with being around other people and being a light, you just attract so much stuff, and it's good to keep your energy field cleansed and clear so that you're always connected to yourself and you know who you are. And if you're not an energetic healer, I would suggest that you do take into account of at least even once every few months, if you want to cleanse your energetic field. Have somebody help you to tap into yourself deeper so you can know yourself better, and so you can clear off things that may not be yours that you're carrying. My story is a prime example. It's important this work is really important. This healing work that I do and that others do, it's really important. Your energy field being cleansed and cleared, your body being cleansed and cleared, you being connected to yourself fully is important, because nobody else can live your life but you, and no one else should be trying to. That's one other thing that I did take from that. The anger and the hatred and all those different things I felt, I'm glad those things are gone, those feelings. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to my story share. If anything came up that you wanted to share, or if you want to share your own experiences or had any questions, or whatever came up for you, if you want to drop it down in the comments below, that would be awesome. I would love to hear from you, love to hear your experiences. And again, whatever you share could help someone else too. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure you subscribe so you can get the next story that comes from me next month. I do these monthly. And with that, I'm so glad that you are here. Welcome to the community if you're new, and welcome back if you have been with me for a while. Things are going to be interesting on this channel, so stick around. All right, take care.